Have you ever watched an athlete and just known they were different? It's not just about how fast they run or how high they jump. There's something else going on, a battle being fought and won entirely inside their head. Today, we're getting into that champion's mindset to figure out what really sets the very best apart.
So let's just ask the big question right up front. What really separates the champions from everyone else? You know, the ones who are also incredibly talented but just don't quite reach that top step of the podium. The easy answer is always physical gifts, right? But that's not the whole picture. Not even close. The real difference maker is almost always invisible.
Think about it like this. On one side, you've got the raw physical talent, the speed, the power, the genetics. That's your ticket to the game. But on the other side, you've got the mental mindset, the focus, the resilience, the way they set their goals. And that's what actually lets you win.
All right, to really get this, we have to start at the foundation, with how these elite athletes actually define success. And you might be surprised, it's not always just about winning. It's about why they want to win in the first place.
This brings us to a really key idea from sports psychology called achievement goals. Sounds a bit academic, but it's simple. It's the why behind an athlete's drive. It's the engine that keeps them pushing day after day. And as we're about to see, not all goals are created equal.
So athletes tend to fall into one of two camps. First, you've got the ego-oriented folks. For them, it is all about beating other people. Winning is everything, and they need that external validation. The problem? That approach often leads straight to massive anxiety and, you guessed it, burnout. But then, you have the task-oriented athletes. Their focus is totally internal. It's about personal improvement, about mastering their craft. The motivation comes from within, which, it turns out, is a much more powerful and sustainable way to achieve long-term success.
And here is a perfect example of that task-oriented mindset in action. The great Carmelo Anthony said this about Giannis Antetokounmpo. He doesn't describe Giannis as a born winner. He calls him a student, someone who is constantly collecting skills, taking a little bit from everyone to get better. See, he isn't just focused on beating his opponent tonight. He's obsessed with mastering the entire game. That is the champion's focus.
So what happens when an athlete adopts this mastery-focused mindset? Well, it helps them unlock something truly special, a state of peak performance we've all heard of, what athletes call the zone.
Now, in psychology, this state has a name. It's called flow. And it's that incredible feeling of being completely absorbed in what you're doing. Everything else just fades away, right? Your actions and your awareness become one, and your performance feels totally effortless.
So what does being in the zone actually feel like? Well, researchers have kind of broken it down. You're intensely focused on right now. You're not worried about the last play or the next one. That little voice in your head, that inner critic, it just goes quiet. You feel totally in control, and time itself can feel like it's slowing down or speeding up. You're not thinking, you're just doing, and the act itself is the reward.
But here's the thing, you can't just flip a switch and enter flow. It requires this perfect, delicate balance. If a challenge is too easy for your skills, you get bored. If it's way too hard, you get anxious and overwhelmed. Flow happens right in that sweet spot, where a massive challenge is met by your highest level of skill. You're operating right on the very edge of your abilities.
I mean, listen to this. The legendary Formula One driver Ayrton Senna. This quote just perfectly nails that almost out-of-body experience of flow. He said he wasn't even driving consciously anymore. It was pure instinct. He was in a different dimension. That is the peak state that a mastery mindset can unlock.
Okay, now we're going to get into what might be the most mind-bending part of the champion's mindset, their relationship with pain and suffering. For most of us, pain is a warning, an alarm bell. For them, it's something completely different.
Author and elite runner Alex Hutchinson uses this incredible analogy. He says endurance isn't just about having a high pain tolerance. It's about consciously, actively resisting your brain's most basic survival impulse, the one that's screaming at you to stop.
And this is the absolute core of it. It's a mental reframing. For most of us, pain is a stop sign, full stop. Your body yells, stop, and you listen. For an elite athlete, that exact same signal is treated as information. It's their body saying, okay, we can't do this forever, but we can definitely ignore it for a little while longer. They learn to tell the difference between a real limit and just a warning sign.
And here is the most important part. This is not some superpower they're born with. Research actually shows that an athlete's pain tolerance changes and improves with training. It's a learned skill.
The more you expose yourself to discomfort in practice, the better you get at handling it when it really counts. You literally learn how to suffer better.
But, and this is a really important but, this incredible mental toughness doesn't make these athletes bulletproof. We have to add this nuance. Some studies show that because of the immense pressure, elite athletes can sometimes report higher levels of psychological distress and mental health symptoms than the general population. It's a powerful reminder that even the toughest minds need support.
So, if these amazing mental abilities aren't just something you're born with, then how do you build them? Well, that brings us to the practical side of things, because a champion's mind, it turns out, can absolutely be trained.
A core idea in sports psychology is that things like focus, commitment, even leadership, they're not fixed personality traits. They're not something you either have or you don't. No, they are skills. Just like shooting a basketball or swinging a golf club, they can be developed with focused, deliberate practice.
So what's one of the tools in this mental toolkit? It's something called a trigger. It's basically a simple, pre-planned cue to snap your focus back into place. And the process is really straightforward. First, you think of a common, high-pressure moment in your sport. Then, you decide what is the single most important thing to focus on in that moment. And finally, you create a personal word or a quick action that instantly redirects your attention right back to that one thing.
And these triggers can be ridiculously simple. A single word, like footwork or next play, or a quick physical action, like tapping your wrist or just taking one single deep, centering breath. It's a mental shortcut that cuts through all the noise and lets you lock back in when the pressure is on.
Okay, let's pull all this together. We've looked at what really makes a champion tick, from their deepest motivations to how they find that magic flow state and even how they think about pain itself.
So, what are the keys? Well, it starts with prioritizing mastery over simply winning. It's about developing that ability to tap into a state of flow where you perform automatically. It demands a radical reframing of pain, seeing it as information, not a stop sign. And maybe most importantly, it's knowing that all of these are mental skills that anyone can train.
And that really leaves us with one last question. And this one applies to all of us, way beyond sports. The next time you're facing a real challenge and you feel that discomfort, that voice telling you to quit, just ask yourself, is this a stop sign? Or is this just information telling me that I'm right on the edge of my comfort zone, which is exactly where growth happens?